Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to introduce Grace White, a beautiful mother of four kids. I know that everyone is like, whenever it comes to like mothering tips and traveling and basketball life, Grace's name comes up so often. So I'm so happy you're here to on my podcast to share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, so okay, I don't even know where to start. Maybe with like some basic questions. So then,
Okay.
like where you're from in US first. Yeah, first let's start from that. So take it a little
Okay.
back.
I am from the Chicago suburbs. So when I say Chicago, everyone thinks the city, but it's totally the suburbs. So about 45 minutes outside of Chicago, in Illinois. So
Cool. And how did you meet your husband?
I met Aaron in college. So we both went to the University of Iowa. I played volleyball there and he played basketball, of course. And we met his freshman year. So we were together, like we were like college sweethearts. We were together all through college.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how was your childhood? Do you have a big family?
I have a really big extended family. So like all of my cousins and all of my extended family is pretty much really close to my hometown. And then I am one of three sisters, three girls. So my older sister and my younger sister and I are very, very, very close. So when I'm home for the summer, that's who I'm spending the majority of my time with.
That's so nice. I bet you miss them when you're gone.
Yes,
When you're away.
it's been hard, and they've been able to visit a couple of times, but with life and work and everything, that's difficult.
Yeah. And is Aaron from a big family then?
He has an older brother, and he's from Ohio, so it's about 5 hours, 6 hour drive from where we live. And no, he has a smaller family, but they're really close as well. So
So what I'm trying to dig at, like,
why we have so many children?
yes, like, did you maybe have a big family or him, and then they really like enjoyed it, and
Yeah,
they're like, we
no,
need a big
nothing.
family.
We have the most kids. I like all through college, high school, I always nannied. Like I've always loved kids. And so I knew from like a very young age that I wanted children, like a lot of children. I like dreamed of being a mom. I
That's
never
so
like dreamt of my wedding day or anything like that. I just always dreamed of being a mom. And so I used to say I wanted six. And then once I have like gone through pregnancy and experienced it, I'm like, okay, that's insane. But I knew that I love like uh, this is going to sound ironic. I love the chaos that comes with little kids, like
yeah.
I love, I just love their innocence. I love the loudness, the questions, like to me, like it's so much fun. And I'm used to that since I nannied. So, yeah, I just always knew I wanted a lot of children.
Oh, that's amazing. So now you guys have four. How did your and aren't all your kids born in different countries? If I
So my oldest and my youngest were both born in America.
okay,
And then my son Bosco was born in Lithuania.
yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
of course. And then my daughter was born in Italy. So
Well, that's cool. How did you experience like okay, first maybe births in those different countries and like well, three in total now, right? And
yeah,
then and also like being a mother in different countries. But I
yeah.
think that's like a
So
big topic. So maybe
yeah, I feel like I was kind of I don't know any different because so I had Micah and then my oldest daughter and then we moved to Germany for Aaron's first season overseas when Micah was 2 weeks old. So I feel like I've only ever experienced being a mother in another country, like
yeah.
I didn't really have anything to compare it to. So I don't know if that's better or worse, but I was really lucky my first year that I had another amazing basketball wife in Germany with us. And she had a newborn also. And we basically learned the ropes of motherhood together. Like, I don't know what I would have
That's the
done
best.
without her.
That's so nice.
Shout out to PD Clark. So, but so motherhood in other countries, I have found to be at times lonely, but also a really big blessing because I think when you are surrounded by so many opinions and so many suggestions when you're trying to figure out the way you want to parent, it can be overwhelming. And so I always say that like the it's so difficult being away from family. But the one blessing is that Aaron and I got to figure out how to be parents and what kind of parents we wanted to be on our own without too much, you
Input.
know, opinions and
Yeah.
like questioning of the way we were doing things.
Yeah.
So that's like the way I take a positive spin on us being so far away and being in other countries. Pregnancy and childbirth in other countries, I also have like really good things to say about it because I don't think pregnant women and moms in general are taken care of enough, like in America. So when I compare my births, I would have had my fourth child overseas if the timing would have worked out. But because of my due date, I had to have him in America. But I felt more cared for and more able to advocate for myself overseas than I did in America. So, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, I'm
It
very happy
is.
that you all had all the, great experiences. And but yeah, it's sad, I guess, that America is, I mean, I don't know, treating
Yeah, I just
pregnant
don't think
women
they
like that.
value like women and pregnant women and the health of women, and especially Black women and women of color. Like it's the way that America treats pregnant women and the like the outcomes for their health in labor and during pregnancy is I think if people really looked up the stats, they'd be really surprised to hear it. Because I remember when we told our family that I was going to go to Lithuania and have my son in Lithuania, because we were trying to decide if I should stay back home and have the baby and have Aaron come home for the birth, or if I should just go and have the baby in Lithuania. And when we told our families that I was having him in Lithuania, I mean, they were shocked. They were so stressed out, so worried. They were like, oh my gosh, like, what are the hospitals like there? And, it was as if we were going to some third world country to have a baby.
And I wanted to say, because I heard, since I'm Lithuanian, I heard a lot of like people not ever being to Lithuania, what they think about Lithuania. And I'm
Yeah.
like, do you people even Google? Like, it's
Yes.
a normal country. I know we have hospitals that are lower level, like they're not
But so
as
does every
well.
country, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But then, yeah, people in first when they hear Lithuania, it's like some bushland in the middle of nowhere, and
Yes.
you're like,
I'm
oh
like,
my
I'm
god.
not giving birth in like a jungle. Like I'm giving birth in another country with hospitals and doctors and midwives and really good care. So it was so funny because I'm like, if only that people realize that actually like the maternal like and fetal healthcare is way better in other countries than it is in America. But I think um not in a bad way, but Americans can just be ignorant about that, like we don't
Yeah.
understand that like
But
there's all
like, I
these
feel
other
like all you
countries.
guys know is like, you've been, it's the best country in the world.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
so
Exactly.
you've been told that your whole life, and that's all you know. And then unless I guess you
Yes.
experience, or you hear women with experience like that telling you otherwise, you're just gonna take
Yes.
it.
And there are
Um,
some things that are like that were valid, some worries that were valid, like the language barrier and things
yeah.
like that. And so I understood where people were coming from in that aspect. But I think one thing that I've learned like over the years is like with as difficult as it is to plan things around basketball, it's always just better for us to be together as a family during those like during childbirth and postpartum and all of those things, or else you're doing it alone. So
Yeah. And oh my God, that was my biggest fear always, to like give birth by myself.
yeah, exactly.
Because
Totally.
Mav was born in May during the COVID year. So that
I,
was like
I, I was gonna
the
ask.
peak of COVID, and we were in Spain. And my friends, well, Gabby from
Yeah,
Žalgiris.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So her and Laura, they had to give birth, Milagnis Laura.
Without
Uh,
their husbands, right?
yes. And I think that, and I was literally fearing that they were kind of prepared for it. I don't know. That's so like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have done it, but they're like, yeah, it's okay. That's the only way that we can do it. But
Yeah.
for me, I was like, there's no way. I was like, I was not even, I think that's like just so ignorant of the woman's like mental state, especially during the birth. Like
Totally.
you can't do that. Like,
It's not fair. Like it's not
not
fair
fair at
because
all. And like, I talked to Gabby after, we like, she was one of the great best friends of mine, and we like keep talking, and like, she's like, I feel robbed of that experience.
Yeah, because you can't get that back.
Yeah,
And
and it's
also
like
like,
it's the first child, and then your husband is not there to just meet the baby, and even after, like, for 5 days, they could not come in. They could not come in, see the
I
baby. So it's
I
like,
can't
that's
imagine.
mind-blowing to me, like, the worst days after you give birth and you're alone.
Yes.
It's like,
And you can't even like
good
stand
that they
up
didn't.
unassisted.
Exactly, exactly. Good, lucky they didn't have well, how do you call that? The cesarean, because otherwise they would. What do you
Yeah.
do? What do you do? You can't stand up. You're laying there. Your baby's crying. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. But so okay, I'm happy you had a good birth in Lithuania. Where did you
Yeah.
give birth? I think we might have given birth in the same place.
I actually had him. So since he was due so early in the season, he was like a September baby. So I went to Vilnius, the
Wow.
Baltic American clinic,
Yeah, yeah,
and
okay, I know that.
loved it. Like had an amazing experience there. They let like Aaron and my older daughter stay with us in the room, like because I didn't want to be away from her, and we didn't have anyone there that I like
Yeah.
knew enough to watch her overnight. We had just moved to Lithuania, so um, it was an awesome experience. I really loved it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Thanks.
I'm very happy. And
Yeah.
and so then, I guess, postpartum period in Lithuania. What just
Yeah, I mean, luckily my mom and Aaron's mom each came out to visit and helped for I think like a week at a time. Um, we did have a crazy incident where when Bosco, my son, was like 3 weeks old, he had to be taken to the emergency room because he had like a really high fever. And it was so scary. And luckily, my mother in law was in town, so she could stay with my daughter. And we were in the ambulance. And I was like so stressed out being in another country, you know?
yeah.
And we took him to the Connus clinics. And I remember we were in the emergency room and they were asking me for identification of him. And that morning, I had submitted his passport or submitted his like birth certificate to get his passport. So I didn't have any proof that he was like my child. Nothing with his name on it, like no paperwork at all. And we're like trying to communicate with each other. And there was like one nurse that spoke English. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're not going to see my baby and he has this awful fever. It ended up being like they saw him and it was just like stressful for no reason. And I remember they were asking me for like the insurance card, but we had just moved to Lithuania, so I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I'll just pay out of pocket. Like, I don't have anything. I'll just pay, like, just see my baby. And so I remember when they were handing me the bill, I was like so nervous for what it was going to be because I'm like, you know, he saw all these specialists and we took an ambulance there and everything. And they handed me the bill and it was 74 like euro. And I think I like called my parents the next day and I told them, I'm like, he saw all these specialists, he took an ambulance and it was only 74 euro. Like, this is why I love healthcare in other countries, you know, because
Yeah.
that would have put like a family into severe debt in America, you know, if you had to take an ambulance, you didn't have insurance and all of that. So that's just one of the examples of why I love healthcare and everything overseas way better, way better.
Yeah, I only, obviously I only hear about the American health system and how like crazy.
Yeah.
Beth is now like telling me stories and like how like you literally have to think, because for us calling an ambulance, like I've called back when Brock was playing in Lithuania, I had such high fever myself and I was like,
Yeah.
I could not lift my head off the pillow. I would take medicine and like it would help for half an hour, but then this fever would spike even more than before. So
Ugh,
then every time I'm like getting a little bit of like
relief.
relief, but then it gets worse. So, and Brock is like, I think it was a away game or something. I was like, I think I was like texting him. I'm like, I'm not being dramatic, but like, I might die.
Yeah.
Just because
Of course you're at an away game.
yeah, but I'm like, I felt so bad. I just could not, when you're on your pillow, like I could not lift my head
Yes.
like this because it felt like it's like, oh, it was just bad. So I was like, only thing I could do is call an ambulance. And I never think that, and it was fine. Like they came over, they actually took me to the hospital to see, to run the test because they're like, oh, the fever spikes back and da da da. And now when I heard about, calling an ambulance, it's like, you have to actually think of, okay. And this was okay.
Is it worth it?
I don't know if I was that like, I was not gonna die. That's very dramatic, but
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? If you actually have like, if you're actually wounded, like let's say that, if it like something
Yeah.
happened that you actually like, bleeding, God knows something, and you're thinking, can I afford to call an ambulance?
And
That to me is
especially
mind
with
blowing.
children, because like so
Yeah,
many times as a mom, I feel like you think something is wrong, but you don't know if you're being over dramatic, or, you have that gut feeling. You're
But
like, I
then
think
also
my
you don't
child.
want to just say, oh, maybe I'm dramatic. It's okay. But then
Yes.
you don't want to be wrong. Like,
And then you don't want to go to the hospital and they'll be like, no, everything's fine. And you're like, then why did I just spend $500 to take my child to the doctor?
yeah.
So I think like the fact that we've been able to have this amazing healthcare in other countries has allowed me to not like second guess myself all the time. If I'm like, okay, I think something's wrong, I'm going to take them to make sure. And if I'm wrong, then great, my child is healthy and it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg.
That's so true. That's so true.
But
so okay, your first country you lived abroad to, you moved with Aaron, was Germany, right?
Germany. Yep. Yeah.
And so that was already with Mika, 2-week-old baby.
Yes.
Wow. So you actually, okay, you have not experienced living abroad without children.
No, I have not. So we have, had a baby from the get-go.
That's all. But I guess with one baby now, I bet you think, oh, one baby's like nothing.
I know. I look back and I'm like, why wasn't I just like hopping around Europe the whole time? But when you go from 0 to 1, I think that's the hardest transition. So I try to give
you really say that after having 4 kids? You say
yes,
0 to
100%. Because before you don't have children, you can be selfish. Like your time is yours. I never had to be like, let me get this baby down for a nap and breastfeed this child and do this before I take a shower. You could just shower whenever you wanted. So I try to look back and like give myself a lot of grace, because even though now I'm like, oh, I had one baby, what a breeze. At the time, it was really hard, like it was really hard. So, sure. But now when I have like 2 children, I'm like, this is a vacation.
It's crazy how like perspective changes so fast.
It really does. It really does.
And so after Germany, you moved to, where was it?
Russia.
Russia. That's the one I forget. Okay.
Yeah, so we were in St. Petersburg.
Russia was worse than Lithuania.
Very, very different, I will say. Very different, because we were in St. Petersburg. So like huge city, like no English at all. We had to have a driver and he had to like translate for everything, like all my doctor's appointments. And I was pregnant with Bosco, my son, in Russia. And like, I had to basically bring our driver translator to all my appointments, and he would translate back to me from the doctor. So we had this
from like the gynecologist type appointments, right?
Like he told me I was pregnant before I was able to tell Aaron.
Oh my
God. That we were really close. Like he was like part of our family.
Well, you have to become close after those kind of experiences.
Yeah, you have to telling me I'm pregnant. So.
Oh wow! Like I think like things like that. I don't know. It's just like I'm talking about basketball wives, but I guess all sports people, But it's just like these experiences like that you could never. I don't know,
when I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, that sounds so crazy. But at the time, it was just what we had to do, Yeah,
absolutely. I had that last year in Japan because I was pregnant with Millie. Yeah. And every appointment, our translator would go to. But oh my God, it's
very humbling, because I feel like I'm a very independent person. I don't like asking for help. I like love to just be able to figure things out on my own. And I remember before we had moved to Russia, some other wives who had lived in Russia were telling me, like, you're going to need a driver, you're going to need a translator. And I was like, no, I am not. Like, I am not getting a driver. I'm not getting a translator. Like, and then we got there and we did it without a driver for like 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, I'm waving the white flag. Like, I'm admitting I need help. It's just, it was really humbling for me, because as much as I wanted to like be independent and figure everything out on my own, I just couldn't, so
I guess coming from Germany also, where more people speak English, and and the alphabet is the same. That's another thing. Like you can still like figure some things out,
Exactly. And some words kind of sounded like English words, whereas in Russian I was like, I have no idea what you're saying.
It's so different. I totally agree. That's how I felt in Japan. Like, and the translator last year, he's just like this middle-aged like a single man, and he gets so awkward at anything, and
you're like, all talking, of my personal information, like this is,
the doctor's like talking
weird.
Obviously he wouldn't see nothing. I would go like behind the curtain and he would be somewhere else, but he has to be there, so when doctor's talking to me, he can tell me what he's saying. And I can just the first time I could just see him like walk in the room, like he's just
Yeah. He's
what
like
am I
keeping
gonna
his
do now?
eyes
Where
down.
do I go? I was like, you're okay, you're not gonna see anything, like you're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Like,
like they probably felt just as uncomfortable as we felt, you know?
yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel like we would be more confident because first of all, second baby, I feel like it's already like, all right, like
Yep.
I've been
I'm
through this
like,
whole thing, like it's okay. And then just like men who never experience anything like that, it's just probably like,
yeah.
oh my god, what's happening? What's gonna
Totally.
yeah, so that was a bit of fun. Um and then Russia. So Russia was how was Russia? How's living in Russia?
Living in Russia, it was difficult, like I said, because we needed help for so many things, and I wasn't used to that. But again, I had an amazing wife on the team with me, Jess Toulson, and she at that time had been living overseas for a lot longer than I had. So she like took me under her wing, and um, I think like really truly it's the other women that can make or break the year for you. Like having a friend and having someone to just like spend your time with. And Russia is very dark and very cold in the winter. There's like no sunlight, and it's like the perfect climate to just like fall into almost like a seasonal depression and not want to leave your house. And she was amazing. She always like she had such high energy, and she would take me to the gym and we would go out together, and she just made everything fun. So I owe that year to her. You know, she was
Yeah.
such a great friend to have. So
It's so awesome. I feel like first of all, I feel like when you say Jess Toulson, I'm like, oh my god, I know her energy exactly what you're talking
yeah,
about.
like
She's so
if I could just
awesome.
have an ounce of that, you know.
Like, it's always a smile, always like, woo!
Yes.
But what I also think is like it's crazy how big of a basketball wife community it is.
Yeah.
Because even who like I probably know half the people, and like and they're all I don't know how like it's like a web.
Yeah,
Like
everyone's like intertwined. Exactly.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's awesome. I feel like we could I know there's that page that there is, Love and Basketball, and it's
Yeah.
like all the amazing women on there, but I feel like oh my god, we could do like a yearly meetup or something
I
that you
know. And
imagine. Like I feel like we have okay, first of all, if you ask, everyone is ready to help, which is so nice.
yes. And they're so uplifting and encouraging, and like I feel like it's hard because like I don't know how it is for you. Like other people don't understand our lifestyle. You know, like they don't
And
get it.
I know exactly because like you don't want to say like you don't understand, but
Yeah.
it's tough to understand. Like even these things, like we said with the translator to
Yes.
gynecologist appointments, like what? Like to the normal person, that would be like, what? Like
Yeah.
how does that work? Like,
Yes.
but for us, you tell me that, I'm like, yeah, that's the only way. Like you don't see around it, and that's
Exactly.
normal for you. And yeah, there are things like that, or like my top one is when people are like, oh, my wedding is in March. Are you guys? Can you guys come? Or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
My
yeah, sure.
favorite.
Brock can just call up the coach and say, yo, dude, can I have like 3 days
Do you
off?
think I could have like a week off? I'm like, he could barely get time off for the birth of his child. He can't come to
Yeah.
your wedding.
I know that. So like there are these things that for other people, things like they think that basketball is just like a job, which is a job, but
Yeah.
it's like nothing that you can just leave whenever you want and like
Yeah,
come back
it's like
whenever.
it's like our life. It really
Yeah.
is, which sounds crazy to say, but like so I think it feels really comforting to know that there are other women whose entire lives revolve around basketball, and that they get it, and they get how it is such a privilege to like go all over the world and for our husbands to do what they love for their job. But it's also really hard, and it's also a big sacrifice, and it's also lonely. And I think it's really comforting to know that other people can relate to those feelings, and they understand, and they get it, they
Yeah.
get it.
And they don't see that if you're, because sometimes we got to complain about some things because, okay,
Exactly.
I'm like having a hard time because I'm missing this and that, or, back home
Yep.
or whatever. And, it doesn't make me feel less grateful for the life we're living, but
Yes.
it's like I'm still feeling the feelings of being sad because I'm missing that. So like,
Exactly.
and the only people who would understand that, I feel like the people who live this life, because if you tell that
Yes.
to another person, and no offense, I love my friends to death, but then they'd be like, oh, but look at like you're living in all these countries, and I was like, yes, I know, but I'm not being ungrateful. It's just
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's
like
hard.
sad.
I always say like it comes at a price,
Yeah,
like there are things that we don't ever get to have or to experience because of it. And I'm so grateful that I get to be home with my children. And I'm so grateful that I get to support my husband and watch him do what he loves, and that I get to see parts of the world. But like, I miss out on things back home, you know, and my kids miss out on things back home. And even our husbands miss out on things back home. So
Absolutely.
I think like our first year in Germany, and especially because we were in a place that is so like Central Europe, everyone thought it was amazing and they thought it was so cool. And they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are going to Paris for the weekend and you can go to Amsterdam. And I felt like it was not a good representation of like how hard it was, you know, like
Yeah.
our family was like, oh, we're going to have blah, blah, come visit you. And they should come visit you. And I felt like everyone thought we were just like walking the streets of Germany and eating croissants and doing whatever we wanted. Oh, I did a thumbs up. Like all day, when in reality I was trying to figure out how to be a mom in a foreign country with you know, no community. And that's the part that I really struggled with, because like you said, I didn't want to sound ungrateful. I was like, this sounds like a dream that I get to live in Germany while my husband plays basketball. But it was really hard, and I think it frustrated me that I didn't feel that like those feelings were validated, you know?
Yeah.
And so the basketball
Absolutely.
wife community has been like really validating for me, because
You don't have to explain yourself, or
yes,
you know, like it's
yeah,
just,
like I don't have to
I feel like also it connects, like you get closer right away because
totally.
you know so much about like your life, your each other's lives without knowing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Like that's how I felt with Jess Toolson. Like we moved to Russia and she was like, okay, we're going to be friends. Like, you know, we're in Russia together. We're going to get through this together. And it's so nice just knowing like you have that person that you can spend like your time with, you know?
Absolutely. I remember us meeting for coffee in Belgrade.
Yeah,
I was like, I know, you know, because well, it would be amazing to be on the same team, but we never could because our husbands play in the same position.
The same position. Yeah.
So like, well, that's clear that's not gonna happen. But like I always knew that first, like we were with Katie Pangos, and then you guys were very good friends, and then, so it's sort of like, you know, we left, they stayed, and then you came, and then and then like it's sort of people like rolled over. So I was like, oh my God, Grace must be so cool, because like all the people I thought were cool, you know what I mean? It sort of works like that. Like all the people I thought were cool and awesome, like you guys are hanging out. So like sure, like, you know, they would not hang out with not cool, but not nice people. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, you know, if your friend is a friend with someone, you're like, oh, they're friends of mine.
Like you already have the approval of previous wives and girlfriends, and so then you're like, oh, this is great, we're gonna get along.
As funny as it sounds, but I don't know, I feel like that a little bit. Like,
yeah, totally.
And then when I met you, well, we would say hi we would cross paths at the games, but then when I remember meeting you in Belgrade for coffee when I was with Basket News, and I was like, oh my God, it's awesome. And then we sat there. It's the first time ever that I had a coffee with someone for the first time, and we both cried.
I was gonna say, I think I cried.
Yeah, I cried too. Yeah. And then I almost missed my plane because that like we just could not stop talking. And
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
This is so nice.
Because even though we hadn't ever lived in the same city at the same time, we had so many things that we could like talk about and share experiences with. And like it's just so easy to talk to another woman like who you could relate to all of the things I was talking about, and I could relate to the things you were talking about. And yeah, it's like so I can't think of the right word. It just like feels so good to know that there are people out there. I
feel like somewhat, tell me if I'm crazy to saying that, but I feel like even though we had a coffee one-on-one for the first time, I already felt close to you because I knew where you were, you know, what you were kind of like going through, and like yeah, exactly, like sort of like, you know your story, and I know mine because of the you know, without having spoken really.
Exactly. Like I didn't have to ask you, so like, where have you lived? Because I already know.
or even like, you know, even though like, okay, example, we left Žalgiris, Aaron was there with Sharas, right? So we were already like, we would watch the game, and like you can see Sharas, if he's mad, he gets Aaron off, like let's say off the court, and Brock is like already, oh my God, I still know this exact feeling, like that sucks, you know, sort of thing. And I'm like already feeling with you guys that I'm like, oh my God, that's like
The
I
worst
know
feeling.
exactly how it feels, without you knowing that I'm thinking about you. Or the
Yes.
other way around, when it's like a high and, Aaron is like killing it, and,
Yeah.
the white airlines, and it's like, it's so cool and so sick. And it's like, oh my God, it's that high that we also know, like, it's
Yeah,
like, it's sort of like
exactly.
so relatable. Like, I don't know if I made myself clear.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. Even now, like women, I don't know if I like when you can relate to what they're going through and like what their husbands are going through and you've been there, it's just like this, it's a different connection,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just met two girls yesterday in the park, and well, we arranged the meeting. They came from Yokohama, and the other one is in
Oh,
Kyoto. And we met in Kyoto, and it was just so nice. Like, it was just, we thought we spent like, I think 5 hours in the park.
oh my gosh. How were they from like America or other countries? Or?
The one is from Slovenia and the other one is from America.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was like, it was awesome because it's just exactly like what we're talking about
Yes.
now. It's like, oh, cool. Like,
You can just
it's really
relate to
nice.
everything and talk and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and talk about Japan and things we don't like and
Like
like.
it's just like
But it's just like, can't talk to Japanese people and tell them like, okay, I find
yeah.
this annoying, or you can always tell you love something, but like, you're not gonna go and rant about something.
You don't want to rip on their country. Exactly.
Exactly. Not that we do that a lot, like. um, okay. Sorry. So from all these countries you already mentioned, for me, I'm not sure if we were already recording or not, but you said that your favorite country to live was Lithuania.
Yes, yes.
I didn't ask her to say this, I promise.
I was not paid to say this. Aaron and I think
Sponsored
have
by
the same
Lithuania.
answer. I mean, this is Aaron's finishing up his 9th year now, and we have always switched teams, switched countries. Like, it's just the way it's been. Even if he signed like a 1+1 or a team option or whatever, it's just been like a crazy journey for us. In Lithuania, we spent 2 years there, and I feel like 2 years in the same team, the same country, and all of the players like returned the next year. So I had the same group of wives for 2 years, and like our kids grew up together, and we 2 babies were added to the mix during those 2 years. Like, it was just such a tight knit group. And so Lithuania, like, I don't really have to think twice about it. That was like my favorite 2 years of basketball so far.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
like I said, the same with us, with being in Istanbul. That's why Turkey is like we love Istanbul. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we spent in total 3 years. But yeah, like I said, we came in FS, we had 1+1, which people who are not from basketball, 1+1 is you have a 2-year contract, but it's technically not a 2-year contract. It's like it
sounds nice on paper, but like,
yeah, it sounds great. But then it can become a 2-year contract because there's a plus, but then also a plus is either sometimes just by the player, which is rare, and then most of the times it's by the club. So if you do well the first year, then the club decides to
hopefully bring you back. Yeah.
Bring you back or not. Exactly. So exactly what happened to both of us, you and Schalkers and us in FS. And but the only thing that we talked about, the good thing of staying in a country for 2 years is that you don't have to pack your house. But for both of us, I guess
we did not experience that. Yeah.
We haven't, exactly. That's another thing we have in common. So we packed literally, but in the back of my head, I was like, surely, we have to come back. And so I packed my house, like our apartment, but I left majority of my things in my friend's.
Oh, that's nice.
Doj Balbay, the Turkish captain we had when we were in Efes, and his wife Erica. So I left my stuff at their house because they had a house in Turkey. So I was like, all the things that, it might be silly, but all the things that I like in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's not silly.
Like the things I like, and I hate spending money on these things every year. So I was like, I packed it and I said, look, if I'm not coming back, you can give it away, and I'll be happy for someone to have it. But if I'm coming back, I really don't want to buy.
It's such a relief if you're coming back and you already have those things.
And I was unpacking, and I was like, "Oh, Brooke, look, I packed our spices too." Yeah, like, I was like, well done, girl."
Me and Sharis, Coach Sharis, his wife, had a conversation about this. Anna Yaskevicius. That how many Christmas trees have we bought like in our life from moving? Like normally as a family, you buy a Christmas tree and you have that Christmas tree for like 25 years, you know, and you just bring out that Christmas tree every Christmas. But like every country, every apartment we move to, we buy a Christmas tree and like, or like a vacuum or like an iron, all these like little things that are not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But you're
But
like,
when you
it
have bought
adds,
9 of
oh,
them.
yes. I'm like, this is insane. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and so when you know you're going back somewhere and you already have all those like household staples, I guess you would call them, I can't imagine what a relief that would be. Because I
Really.
feel like when you first move somewhere, the whole first month is just getting settled and running errands and trying to make the apartment feel
IKEA
homey.
trips.
Yeah, so many IKEA trips.
And you cannot just go into IKEA and go find that thing and leave. No,
No,
you have
you
to
have to
go
like
through the whole
weave
labyrinth,
through. Yeah. Yeah,
and then you
it's
end up buying all these little things that you didn't know you needed.
exactly. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, I
Actually,
mean,
that brought me when I was in Istanbul, and I was thinking, um, already then, but I didn't do nothing about it because it's a big idea. But that's what I'm bringing. I'm just gonna brainstorm with you, our
love it.
basketball community, because I was like, okay, we're buying the Christmas trees, and everyone does it, or the whatever appliances that
Yeah,
we use for 9 months, you know.
exactly.
I was thinking that it would be great to connect the clubs and connect the wives, because wives are usually the ones who do that,
Yep.
to actually have a set room in the club, because the club's arenas stay there, like, they lock it up,
Yeah.
and then nothing gets moved most of the time. So if we could put the stuff there and like,
Yes.
look, these are the things, label them and say, this is an iron, and you can, if I don't come back, anyone can take it. This
Yes.
is a smoothie maker, God knows, a blender. If you
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And or Christmas trees, there would be a lot
Yeah.
of Christmas trees every year left there.
That would
Like,
be amazing.
but it would be cool, because like I'm thinking of, like, from consumerism point of view, that the whole eco-friendly and, like,
Yeah.
environmentally friendly type of living,
Yeah.
like, it would be so much help, because it would be like, okay, I don't first of all, it saves us money, that we don't need
Mm-hmm.
to buy a new one, but also someone else's can reuse it, and it's not bad after a year. That's the whole point, that
That's the
it's
thing.
used.
Everything is like brand new. I mean,
Exactly.
like,
So yeah, I think that I need to get the clubs involved, and get this whole
I love that.
thing going.
That would be so useful. Even like little things that you just like buy to make your house like, all the towels that you buy, all of like every year I buy like a couple cute like
Carpets, like,
rugs.
exactly, rugs, because like I feel like you want a rug makes it cozy, but you
Yes,
also
and you
don't
have little
want.
kids like on the floor. So, I want it to be like a nicer new rug that like I know is clean, but then you use it for 8, 9 months and then you're like, well, I can't bring this in a suitcase. And so then you
Yeah.
end up like donating it or just leaving it there and who knows what happens to it. So you feel so wasteful, you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I always, every year, like, try to give it, like, in Istanbul. I keep bringing back Istanbul, but it's like, there it would be easy, because there would be well, people living on the street, and
Yeah,
you
and you
would see
could
them a
donate
lot.
it or,
Yeah, but like, I would try and do that, and Brock would do that, with all his stuff, like, he doesn't use anymore, or it's just, with guys it's tough, because I guess their sizes are huge, and
yeah,
not,
yeah, who wants these
not
like size 16 shoes?
right. But I guess, like, I would do that with my stuff, and I would feel better about it than just, I would never throw stuff out like that. But
Exactly.
still, I feel like if it could get more of a life, it would be an amazing idea. So okay, maybe
Exactly.
I'll get
I
onto
like
it.
that idea. I fully support that idea.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I'll try and figure something out after I'm done with my swimwear line that I'm launching. Oh my God. Okay. I have a
What?
few things. I
Okay,
thought
can't wait to hear about that.
I actually thought, I started posting a tiny bit about it, but like a tiny bit, because I'm like, it's been a dream of mine to
I
have a
love that,
swimwear
Martyna. Good
line.
for you.
But when I was single, living in Istanbul and living in Valencia, or not single, I mean, not without kids,
Without
not single,
children.
not single. I was like, it would be very nice. It would be very nice, but trying to, like, kind of talk my way out of it every single time. But now when I
Yeah.
have 2 kids, I thought, when is the better time than now to do everything?
Now that I'm so overwhelmed with life, now is when I should add something else to my plate.
Yeah, and then I have an occasional podcast there and there, and then I'm trying to be social, like, on social media a little bit, because all this kind of revolves around this whole thing, and then I mean, yeah, why not? So
That's
I
like
said yes.
that's how you know you're a mom, when you decide to add more stuff to your plate when your plate is already overflowing.
It's just, yeah, but anyway, so yeah, so I'm starting that, and hopefully it's gonna launch in the first week of June.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it feels surreal. There's
Yeah.
little things I'm doing like all the time to like, but there's so many, just so much.
I
Now
bet
when
you there's so many moving parts, but
now when it's coming to closer to like to the
to
launch, I'm like,
launching.
oh my God, there's like I'm so far right now. I have to do so many things and I get overwhelmed, but I'm like step by step. Like no one is
Yeah.
pushing me to launch. I'm like just I'll launch in my time. I just have to get everything ready. But also
Yeah.
I want it to be just I want to launch because I'm like I know that I will learn on the way, you know, because I
Yeah.
was very scared all these years. I was very scared, like, oh, what if the business fails, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we'll never know, you
You'll
know?
never know unless you try. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was thinking, I was like, I would rather try and
And learn from it.
fail
Mm-hmm.
and know and learn from it, but rather than I never do, because that it always like lingers in the back of my
You'll
head, like
wonder what if. Exactly.
exactly. So
I'm excited for you. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited too. I'm yeah, extremely excited. I just, it's like I hope like people like my stuff. I
I
don't
was gonna
know.
say, I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. You have awesome style, and I'll be cheering you on. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so you'll be hearing more from that. I just like
yay!
it's just funny like you're so right as a mom. You're like, "Oh, no, oh, there's a thing that I can do. Okay, let me do that
Yeah,
too." And then
exactly.
I'm in trying to fall asleep and I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my God, I need to do that. Oh my God,
You
I need to
can't
do
shut your
that."
brain off. Yeah.
No. And now breastfeeding at night, it's like I wake up at night and I start thinking about these things.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh
It's
God,
never ending.
no. No, 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 for sure. Um, so having 4 kids now, how do you actually talking about time for yourself? How do you find time for yourself, and do you find time for yourself, and what is time for yourself?
Yeah. It's hard. It is hard. Like you have to be like I have to be so intentional about it. I mean, the biggest blessing to me is that like Aaron is like my biggest cheerleader for and supporting me and having time for myself. Like if I said I wanted to go take like a pottery class, he would be like, "Let's make it happen." Like
That's
he's
amazing.
always helping me in that aspect. But as you know, with basketball, it's hard because like they have practice and they're gone for, days at a time. And um so I feel like I've had to, and this is just a recent shift in my brain. I have to like really be intentional about finding time for myself. For me, that's waking up before everyone else in my family. Like I like to have my mornings. I like to work out in the morning before anyone else is awake. So I know that like that time won't be interfered with. So I get up very early.
When is that?
Like when we were living in Japan, I would wake up at 4:45 and I would go to the gym at 5 and then I would be able to
I
work
always
out.
knew that you're incredibly amazing and like all this, but
No,
4:45?
I'm just a morning person. I told this to
Okay.
Aaron. I really do think people are either like morning people or night owls. I am not a night owl. Like you can
I'm a
catch
morning
me.
person too, girl, but 4:45 is the middle of the night for me.
Yeah, but like you can catch me in bed at like 9 o'clock. Like I do not like stay up past like 9 p.m. Like right now it's 9:20 and this is like a big night for
Oh my
me.
God, I'm so
So
sorry.
no, I'm more than happy. But I do have to like I had to decide like when can for me I feel better and I'm happier and I'm a nicer mom, I'm a nicer wife, I'm a nicer person when I am able to work out and do something for myself. And the only time I could like truly carve that out of my day without any interruptions was in the morning. And so I just like made this commitment to myself and I'm like I'm going to do this, and it started to become like almost therapeutic for me, to wake up and no one was interrupting me. No one was asking for a snack. I didn't have to like do anything before I left. It just felt like it was totally time for me. And I haven't had that in 9 years since my first child was born. So,
When do your kids wake up?
um, well, now that I have like a elementary school student in Japan, we were having to wake her up at like 6:30 for the
Mm.
bus. So, in the summer it depends, but sometime between like 6:30 and 7:30 or 8. So it just depends.
Well, I'm still chewing on that 4:45. Sorry. I need some time.
I know it sounds crazy when I say it out loud, but
But
like,
because I'm all right away, I'm trying to apply it to my life. Like how, because I was
Yeah.
like, this idea is great. Absolutely love that, because sometimes when I wake up naturally before my kids, which happened like maybe 3 times this year,
But you feel
uh,
different. Like it's a
I wake
different,
up and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I want a coffee by myself. But I was like, I'm
Yes.
so scared to turn on the coffee machine because
Yeah.
the Japanese
You
apartment
like
is
don't want to
so
make any
small that they'll
noise.
all
Yeah.
hear
I think like for me, like having little children around you all day is chaotic. It's
it. Yeah.
it's chaos all the time. And I realize that if I start my day with the chaos, you can't get ahead of it. Like then you're just functioning from a fight or flight mode all day, you know? Whereas like if I just have that like time in the morning where I'm not like trying to convince myself that I'm allowed to do something for myself rather than tend to the needs of the other 5 people in my family. You know, it's just like it's my one selfish hour and a half of the day. That's the way I justify it, you know?
Yeah.
And of
No,
course,
that
there's days
makes
where it
so
doesn't
much sense.
happen. Like if I'm up all night, like my 1.5-year-old still doesn't sleep through the night and, you know, things like that. So, but I just notice a total shift in my mood the days that I don't take that time for myself. And so, yeah, that's what I try to be really intentional about that. So,
That is, it's so true about being a better mom and a better wife as well. Because I feel like
yeah.
when I don't do nothing for myself, I try like either I convince
Mhm.
myself that, oh, I can just be on my phone for a little bit, just like, and
To
it's just
decompress.
literally
Yeah.
to like remove myself from, from all the chaos, like you say, like just for a
Yeah.
few minutes. But then I totally zone out. I'm like, it can be a few minutes, but I'm totally like, Brock was talking to me. I can't hear, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm out. Like I
It's like you
literally
just,
just open the phone. I'm like, I can just look at the blank screen. I'm like, oh, this
yeah.
is it. And either I do that, or then towards the evening, like after dinner, I my one big thing that well, I can say not proud of, but like I really want to do is cook for my family. And
Hmm.
dinner is the one, like I really want to eat healthier food than just like, takeaways
Yeah.
and all those things. So of course we go out sometimes, but like with two
Yeah.
kids,
But
so and I feel myself like after dinner, I'm like, that's it. That's like when my glass is so empty that any little
mhm.
disruption that is not necessarily not according to me, but like, anything that requires more of my like patience, then
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do it. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't do
Because
it. And I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a horrible person right now, a horrible mom. But I'm like, this is it. Like, this is all my buttons have been pushed.
yeah,
I've been
like you're gonna snap.
overstimulated this whole day, like, and
Yep.
I cannot, and I'm like, oh my God, let me, like, what do I do? I just need to breathe right now,
Yeah.
it
But you
just,
can't even
yeah,
breathe because someone
no,
needs you.
yeah, and someone is yelling, towel, now
Yeah.
I'm off, I'm done showering. I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm coming.
Well, you're not a horrible mom because that's like so relatable. I just think like you said, at the end of the day, your cup is empty. Like so I had to think about like I feel like I have to stop having these days where I'm like I have nothing left to give. Like I have absolutely nothing left to give any of my kids or my husband or myself at the end of the day, you know? And so like it's the old saying of like pouring from an empty cup. You can't. And I think it's really hard to find ways to like fill your cup when you're living in a foreign country without like community to help you and without, it's lonely. And so I'm like, okay, I have to take these matters into my own hands or else like I
Mm,
don't want to look back and be like I was always overstimulated. I was always angry. I was always overwhelmed, which I still am all of those things. But I feel like just having like 1 hour to do something that is only beneficial to me helps a little bit.
yeah, no, that's so, like, I should take that into, maybe when Millie stops waking up at night so many
Yeah,
times, and
it's also about the season that you're in because like sleep is also really important. So if you're not getting any, then it's brutal.
yeah.
I mean,
Then
I
you're just tired, and then you're angry because you're tired.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So and I also have 3 of my 4 kids would be at school during the day. So I was just home with my youngest, during the day. So, when you have like 2 little ones at home, it's way harder to do. Like everything happens in seasons. So that's another part of motherhood that I'm like still learning each day is like things are constantly changing and shifting and I always have to adjust like my priorities and my schedule because that's the only way to keep my head above the water.
Yeah, absolutely. But so what is time for you? Do you work out? That's a one
Yeah,
major thing.
I think after being a college athlete, like I can't imagine not like doing something competitive with myself, like working out or being active, you know, even if it's just like going for a walk or just doing something. Like I always feel better when I like sweat and get a good workout in. Um that would be like my one non-negotiable would be working out. I also really love to read. Aaron and I both do, but that's more like, you know, in bed at night. I'll like read before I go to sleep. But
Mm.
yeah, time for myself I would usually cuz I don't know, maybe as a mom, if you can relate, but like if someone was like, "Okay, I'll take all the kids. You have 2 hours to do whatever you want." I would end up like cleaning and doing laundry and like you know,
I don't know
something
what's
that is
wrong with
like
us. I
yeah,
don't
like
know
I'm
what
like, "What am I
truly,
doing?"
because this is it. That's and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, but I can't sit down because look at this house." Like,
Yes, I like if someone was like, "Take a nap," I'd be like, "Okay, well, before I take a nap, I have to make sure I'm caught up on laundry. All the dishes need to be washed. I better run the vacuum. I might as well fold that laundry, and then all of a sudden your 2 hours are done."
and then you hear the
So
knock on the door that I'm like,
yeah, and I'm
"Oh
like, "What did
my
I do with my
god."
time?" So at least like when you're doing a workout or something, you're like busy and you can't like I can't
Clean
multitask
and
and
work out. Yeah.
clean. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.